Hello ladies, gents, and everyones. It is Thursday, January 21st, and we're here to talk about what's going on in space and astronomy. So last week I told you that this past Saturday was going to be the final green run test for NASA's Space Launch System, or SLS. Now, as part of this test, it was intended to fire all 4 engines for about 8 minutes. However, the engines automatically shut off about 67 seconds into the test, so they did not complete the intended 8-minute fire. There was no damage to the engines, as this automatic shutoff was tripped due to a conservatively set safety value for the test, due to one of the gimbalings of one of the, I believe, engine number 4. There was also an MCF, or major component failure, about a second and a half into the test, although that was not related to the hot engine shutdown and is not something that they think is going to hold up the rocket going forward. It was an issue with a redundant piece of instrumentation, and the redundancy worked, which was good. And although the engines didn't complete their hot fire testing, they still met many of the objectives for this test. And NASA is working with its industry partners Boeing and Rocketjet Aerodyne to see if they need to redo this test or if they can go ahead and move forward with the launch testing. It's looking like they're leaning towards repeating the test, but it's not confirmed yet. Yesterday here in the US, we had a change of presidency, and along with that change came some changes to the NASA administration. So the previous NASA administrator, Jim Bridenstine, stepped down from his position, and he released this farewell message on Twitter, which you can go see. And in it, he urged that space exploration should never be political, it should never be partisan, it should always be uniting, it should bring people together for science and discovery and exploration. Deputy Administrator Jim Morhard also stepped down, and President Biden hasn't announced his pick for the new NASA administrator yet. In the meantime, NASA Associate Administrator Steve Jurczyk will serve as acting NASA administrator until President Biden announces his pick and it's confirmed by the Senate. SpaceX launched another 60 Starlink satellites into space yesterday. This was the 17th Starlink mission, and this particular first stage Falcon 9 booster was used for a record 8th time for this launch. Over on the red planet, the Mars InSight probe, which is called the MOLE, which was intended to put a temperature sensor deep beneath the surface of Mars to record the internal temperature, has called it quits. They've been trying to dig this hole since February of 2019, it's almost 2 years now, and they've discovered that unfortunately the Martian soil just doesn't have enough friction for the probe to actually burrow deep within the surface. It's only made it about 2 to 3 centimeters deep, and all of the extra things they tried to do, including hammering it 500 times with the Mars InSight this past week, haven't worked, and so they are now announced that they are no longer going to be trying to dig this into the surface. This was the first attempt at burying something in the Martian soil, and while unfortunately it didn't work out, they did learn a lot of really valuable lessons that will be really important for future missions that try to burrow into the Martian subsurface. You may have heard of magnetars. They're a really awesome type of astronomical object. They're basically neutron stars with really intense magnetic fields, 100 to 1,000 times stronger than a typical neutron star. Because of these magnetic fields, the radiation that they emit is actually dominated by X-rays and gamma rays that are emitted by the decay of these electric fields that are supporting the very intense, strong magnetic fields. And this radiation is usually quite bright, but not remarkably so, until they flare. And when they flare, it can be 1 trillion times more luminous, which is insane, and it's so bright that it basically saturates our detectors, and we can't really observe a lot of details about them because of this. However, 2 teams of astronomers recently observed a flare in the Sculptor galaxy, which is far enough away that even though it is intrinsically just as bright, by the time it reached our detectors, it had dimmed enough that we were able to actually observe it in detail. And so they were able to get a detailed gamma ray profile of this burst event. And they found that it actually had 2 components. So one was a very fast, rapidly varying component that lasted only a few thousandths of a second. And the other slow component carried more of the energy, and it was exponentially decaying about 10 times longer than the fast component. And then a third team of astronomers actually noticed that this flare was followed 19 seconds later by a release of even higher energy gamma rays that lasted for several minutes. And this is the first time such delayed gamma ray emission has been detected following one of these bursts. So these observations are really exciting, and they're really important for helping us build our understanding of magnetars, which is not yet totally complete for these kind of crazy objects out there. So really cool news. Well, that's all I have for you for this week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I'll see you again soon, and have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye.